everybody. Welcome back to From Trauma-Based Existing to Authentic Living with me, Terri, your transformational warrior. I'm so excited for our show this evening and to bring on a guest, Cara Moran. We're going to be talking about the dark side of suicide. So there are a few trigger warnings, of course, but if you are triggered by anything we share, please reach out to us and, of course, ask all your questions. Cara has such a powerful story to share. And, of course, some things that you need to look out for if you are supporting the people that are on the verge of suicide. So without further ado, I will bring on Cara. Awesome. Hey, Cara. Thank you so much for joining our show. I'm so excited that you could be here. So, Cara, of course, today we're going to be talking about the dark side of suicide. And I know that this can be such a tricky topic to talk about, but such an important one, right?
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself before we actually get into this.
A little bit about myself. Well, I'm a little old lady. No, not really. Yeah. Just come through a lot in life, have learned a lot. And I think my main goal now going through life is just to pay it forward where I can. Anyone I can help, then I'll help. I love my dogs and I love my rats. And I'm all mad. And that's about it, really.
I want to be a fur baby mama, though. I really do.
But go for rats. They're beautiful little creatures.
Maybe I should suggest that to my son, actually, because he's just so heartbroken about not having a dog because they won't let us have one here.
Yeah.
But maybe he should get a little rat instead. They are kind of cute.
They are. And so they're really clever and really interactive. I love them, really do.
How big are yours? Because, like, my friend had one and they actually get quite big.
Yeah, no, ours aren't huge. They're kind of, yeah, no, not huge. But they're only about, 10 months old.
Oh, so you never know. I feel like you don't always know what you're buying from the pet shop because they're so cute when they're little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are. No, suggest it to him. He might like the idea. Yeah.
Oh, well, I think having an animal is so good, for mental well-being. So
yes, it can be
a good thing. Absolutely. So, Cara, tell us why talking about suicide has become so important to you. Like, what led you to this point that you actually need to share the story with so many people?
It's actually, for me, it's been a lifelong journey, really. It's been in my family, my blood family. I've had friends, I've had ex-partners who've taken their lives. It's just been part of my life. I've had attempts. Quite recently, about the last year and a half, 2 years ago, I was in a very dark place. And why it's become more important is during this dark place, for the first time, I reached out for help. I didn't attempt, I didn't try to do anything. I actually asked for help. And unfortunately, the mental health team in the country is not great. It's not always there when you need it. For some people, it's brilliant. For me, it didn't work. And I was treated badly. I was judged very badly. But because I can sometimes be driven by anger, which is not always good, but in this instance, no. I was quite annoyed with how I was treated. And my anger took me on a bit of a search on better methods because of what I was told, of the way I was judged, things like that, which led me to a pro-suicide site. That changed me. That's all I've got to say. It really changed me being part of something like that. It changed my thought process, everything about it. I then started reading stories. I became involved with families who had lost their sons because of the website, with the website's influence. And And it saved me. Their story saved me. Their son's deaths saved me. So from that point, I've learned so much. I've come away from all of that. I'm in touch with the mums. I get support from them, which is quite ironic. But because of what the website did to me, the way it changed me, I also learned from how I was treated, how I was spoken to, on what I wouldn't do to someone in that position now. It's become so vital for me, so important, if there's one person I can make a difference to who doesn't end up in a situation like that, to end up on sites like that. Yeah. I think it's vital. I think people are not aware of what's going on. And I think people need to be made aware.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously we spoke before this, and I just remember like being full of goosebumps. And even now you tell me again for the second time, and I'm just like, the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. I just cannot believe that websites like this exist. And so we obviously spoke a little bit off show, but just in terms of this website and what you've actually seen there, can you share some of that with us so that people that don't understand what you've experienced on the website, or, we also spoke about potentially these people making money off this kind of thing. So let's chat a little bit more about that, just so that anybody that has maybe gone to a site like that can twice before they actually fall into the trap you nearly fell into.
Yeah. Obviously, when you first get to these websites, you're there for a reason. You're feeling suicidal. You are at your lowest. You are in that amount of pain that there's nothing is going to change your mind. This kind of website teaches you how to die. It will show you step by step. You can go in there and tell them what your plan is. They will refine it until it's going to be, you're not going to fail.
Yeah.
It's so bad to the point, but your whole mindset becomes that. You take on this without even realizing. I mean, I'm not a youngster, so for young people, finding this is frightening. My mindset completely changed without me realizing it, until I read the stories of these young boys who died. I can get quite emotional just thinking of how it all went.
Sure.
So just bear with me if I do. But the stories of these moms, what they went through, what they were put through by people from this website. They were abused, they were harassed. Moderators of the website would phone up pretending to be one of the dead boys. These are the people that I was becoming involved with.
Yeah, taking
on that mindset.
From,
Yeah, so it's horrible in that sense. You then start taking on the mindset that death is great. It's fantastic. There is no other way. There is nothing else to think about. And that's all they talk about is method.
Do you think that these people are just taking advantage of, someone that is in such a vulnerable state? And do you think that they kind of manipulate them also, in a sense, by giving them directions, or, pushing them where to find these things?
Do you know, it's something that some people may even be aware of, because there's been a lot about all these kind of things and websites. I do believe they do it, 100%. I believe there are predators on there. There are predators on there. I've had an experience with somebody who was trying to encourage me to take my life. Yeah. I wasn't, not going to do it. I was in a place of looking to do it, looking for methods. I was there. But it would still be done in my time. I was being told otherwise. Not pushed as such. Some people have been pushed. Some people have been really bad. They've been... The way people talk on there, it's a very, very one track. They have a recovery site which is just there for tick box exercises because of media. But the group atmosphere is more about, if you hear you want to die, so die, and you should be allowed to. Doesn't matter what your age is. Doesn't matter what the reason. Things may be able to get better for you, but doesn't matter. If you want to die, then who's anybody to stop you? And I think that mindset is a little bit wrong. I think everybody should be given a chance to look at something differently. Because when you're in that pain, you can't see a way out. You can't see a way around.
Yeah, I can understand that. And so when you get to the site, um, you know, do you find that there's no real support, like, oh, there are other options. Let me support you. Let me guide you. Let's talk about it. Just like, okay, you want to die. Uh, that's it.
You'll get the odd person who will sort of say, well, you're a bit young, or um, I wouldn't kill myself over that reason or something. And then you'll get people who have been there for a long time, sort of climbing in on the talk and saying, you shouldn't dismiss someone's feelings. They have a right to die if they want to die. It doesn't matter what their reasons are.
Mm.
It's things like that. And I think when you're in such a vulnerable state, now I'm not saying everybody who has a mental health issue is vulnerable, but
Yeah,
when you are seeking to kill yourself, you are vulnerable. Doesn't matter what mental health
absolutely.
issue you've got, what physical disability you've got, you are vulnerable. And that's where the difference comes in from websites like that and people who are trying to prevent suicide, is that understanding of what is vulnerable. Um,
Absolutely. I mean, if you get to that point where you feel like that is the only
mm,
answer,
yeah.
um, you know, you're kind of, I just imagine, because I know when I, was at that point, I just, even though I felt like there was nothing left, I was still somewhat hoping for that little glance of
Mm,
light, just that one little aspect of you can do this, Terry,
yeah.
Um, but going to a site like this, there is none of that, then that's it. You're just given a way out and no help. And what is your experience that you've had with actually getting help in terms of, phoning the government lines or things like that? You said that you had a really bad time. What did you find, with the options that were available to you before this website?
I I did find sort of things online. I'm not a person to pick up the phone and ask for help. I just don't do that.
Yeah.
But I did go online and I did use one of the text messaging services. Um, I've got to say they were good. They did guide me. They did advise what I need to be doing. Although I work in the industry, I know what I need to be doing. I just didn't want to be doing that. Um, Phoning when I did phone one of the lines, I didn't find it helpful, unfortunately.
Mm.
Um, that's my experience. I'm not saying that it's not helpful for people.
I keep hearing this though. So you're not the first
Hmm.
person to say this. And obviously, I work with some people in the mental health, and they have the same opinion. They would rather
Yeah.
just sit alone and try and deal with it on their own than actually reach
Mhm.
out or phone one of these helplines.
Yeah, yeah, and it's something you hear on these suicide forums. They will say phone them because there's nothing they can do, or don't phone them because they'll give away where you are. So, there's a lot of that going on. But for some people,
Yeah,
it can help. For me, it didn't. It really didn't. I needed more. I think I needed more. But I also didn't want to be shoved in hospital. I didn't, I just wanted somewhere to go to express my feelings.
yes.
And I couldn't find it. I couldn't find that.
And
What I
that's
did
just
find,
heartbreaking.
yeah, and what I did find was the suicide forum. When I became sort of the same mindset as the people on there, majority of the people, not everyone on there is like that, um, but becoming like that is quite frightening. When people are in the process of killing themselves with
Yeah.
their chosen method, they will tell people that's what they're doing. You will very seldom see anybody step in to say, "Whoa, hold on." They will just say, "Safe journeys, peaceful travel, see you on the other side."
Oh, so was
And
that kind of the rude awakening for you? Was that where the light bulb went on and you just thought, no, I need to be that person. I need to be the one that sticks up my hand to say, let's think about this for a moment.
you know what? Honestly, in that at that then, no, not right then. It
Oh,
didn't. I joined in. My mindset was going there already, so I had typed safe travels, and it's when I pressed enter and my thing was posted, I thought safe travel. That person is dying right now.
yeah.
They're dying, and I'm doing nothing. And it was then I just sat back and I thought, this is not right. This is not what I want to be part of. Then I saw the stories of these two boys, and their stories broke me, literally broke me. I mean, I've been broken many times in my life,
Yeah.
But these two boys, I don't even know how to explain it. And I'm in contact with the moms, and there's another mom whose son also died from learning methods on the site. And I'm in contact with them daily, and they do provide support to me. But it's so weird because I was on a site that promoted death for their sons.
I know. And how old were these boys?
One had just turned 18, one was 23, one was 26.
Wow.
All vulnerable, all struggling for different reasons, were given methods. But what these moms stand for me, I can't back down what I'm on the journey I'm on now. I can't, because of what their sons did for me. They didn't necessarily kill themselves for me, but their deaths saved me.
Means
Because
something to you. It's not in vain now, you know.
100%. I had my method ready to check out my basket, get everything I needed. I just needed to press enter. And that sat there for a long time, for months after I left the site and everything. It still sat there. But that's how powerful their stories for me were. They still are, even now. And I
think that that's how powerful your story can be for so many others, you know.
And it's so weird because I don't just find it my story. I find it's their story, because without them, I wouldn't be here. It's literally that simple. I know I wouldn't. I was done. I was finished. So had I not seen someone mention something about these people, I then went to look. Who are these people? I wouldn't be here.
Amazing.
So for me, I owe them, and if I can stop one more person from doing what they did, then I owe them. I've got to do it. They saved me, so and that's just feel like I need to pay it forward, and that's just how I look at it. I don't look at it as suicide prevention.
Yeah. It's
I
just
look at
being
it,
that little bit of hope, you know, for
and
somebody
a
else.
little bit of kindness, a little bit of understanding. That's all I needed in that dark place.
Absolutely. And it can go such a long way, just that little bit of compassion. So what would you say to the people that are where you were when you came across this website, when you're at that point that you feel like that's going to help you? What would you say?
I'm going to say, do not go to websites like that, no matter how bad. It may feel like it's helpful. It may feel like, oh, you found a niche of people who understand you. They don't.
Is it
They're
a
not
sense
interested.
of belonging, you know?
Sense of belonging is exactly what I felt, but it's not. It's false. It's a false sense. It's everything's false. People don't care. They're all about themselves and their own pain. That's what everybody's there for that level of pain. When you're in that level of pain, you just get deeper and deeper, and then it becomes the norm. Right, death is right for me, and it's not. It's just not. There are ways to find. I'm not saying everything's solvable. I'm not saying everything can be fixed in a moment. Definitely not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying your pain will just be taken away. I'm just saying reach out to somebody, and don't stop until you get what you want from somebody, because I reached out and then I nearly stopped. But that
Just
one last reach
keep
out
doing
took me
it.
seriously.
Yeah. And anybody that's watching, please remember that you can reach out to the Warriors at any time. And Cara's got such a, powerful message, and she's wanting to be there, so you can reach out to her as well.
Yeah.
And if you ever feel that you cannot comment in the live, please, you can always reach out to us afterwards or leave us a message after. We can get back to you that way. And so, Cara, what do you think, you have taken from this? What has been the biggest lesson learned from all of this now that you've made it out on the other side? You didn't take your life.
Oh, Terry, that is so difficult to answer, because I'm grateful for my life now. I don't think I've ever said that, ever. I'm 50 years old now. So it's taken me all this time to get to this point. The biggest thing I will take from it is these boys, their lives, their stories, their journeys, because it's become mine. because without them, I wouldn't be here. A lot that I've learned from it, though, is how I would try and speak to somebody. This might sound a bit odd, but sometimes you'll hear, and I think I mentioned it to you before, you'll hear people saying, oh, to someone who's suicidal, because I think there's a lot of stigma still about talking about it, and it should be the most natural thing to speak about.
Yeah.
A lot of people are experiencing it and going through it on their own, who then end up on websites like this. So to try and stop that, we don't need people going to websites. They don't need to be doing that. But we do need to be more connected to people, more available, and more ready to just listen. So if someone came up to me now and said they're feeling suicidal, people would say to me, oh, don't be stupid. That would drive me to it, because it's not stupid. Or don't you think you're being selfish? Or have you thought of your family? All these known things we sort of taught to say as prevention, I don't feel as prevention. That's, for me, my experience, because when
Do you
someone
feel like
says,
that's a bit of a trigger actually to hear that?
yes,
Like, oh,
yes, and I
you
won't take
know?
notice of it, because it doesn't do anything for me except make me angry. Because
Mm.
for me, it's showing you don't understand, you haven't listened to my pain. And if someone said to me, I've heard so many times, what about your family? What do you think they'll do? Don't you ever think of them? It's selfish. That's all I thought about for months. Absolute months is all I thought about.
Yeah.
I planned everything. I've got finances in place, life insurance is in place. I waited the term before I've been able to take my life so that life policy would pay out. I planned it all so that they would be fine. But when you get that low, that's all you think about. You don't not think about them, but you get to the point of believing I'm doing the right thing because they're better without me.
Yeah.
And it's just that simple little thing of knowing, no, they're not. But I'm lucky in having a family. Some people don't have that.
Yeah.
So when you're told, oh, what about your family? Some people don't have that. So no, they won't think about it. They
Exactly.
may not
And I
have family love.
exactly. And I kind of get a bit angry when I hear someone say that's so selfish. It's
Yeah,
actually not, because I know I've had a friend that committed suicide, and I honestly believe that she just thought she was the biggest burden on all of us.
that's
And I
right.
believe that she probably thought that just going and giving us a break from her struggles would be better for us than
That's
having
right.
her around, you know? So I totally get that. It's not selfish. And for you to get to that point, no one can understand that. No one.
No. And it's not because, one thing happened, like someone broke up with you or whatever. That might be the catalyst of a number of other things that have led to that. But I think what irks me is when people use the same old kind of sentences or platitudes, or it loses a meaning
It's
eventually
just
because
that
it's
parrot
overused.
fashioned
Yeah,
programming, right?
yeah, it is. And I think it's just about, just take 2 minutes to stop, and just
And be
listen.
real. Yeah.
Mm, real. That's all it is. Just be real. Just be human. Just be, I know it's a difficult topic. But I think we've got to learn to communicate properly. I think there's a huge issue there that we need to just stop and connect with somebody and listen.
And I think that's
Um,
the biggest problem is us as human beings, we have lost that ability to
mm,
connect, to actually empathize and give a shit about the person next to us. We're all just, so busy living our own lives in
and
our own little bubbles that we don't
yeah,
think about the next person. And so,
no,
you've obviously got a powerful story about these two or three young boys. Adam asks, what is your opinion on the stigma surrounding men's mental health?
my opinion, it needs a lot of work. Um, a lot of work to make it normal for men to be able to speak. Um, I read quite a lot about on men's groups now that they don't like to speak, or when they do, they are judged horribly because of the gender situation. There should be no gender in anything to do with mental health at all. Um,
So
I
frustrating,
It
that
is, and I get
men
very
don't
frustrated.
cry kind of thing that we have in
Ah,
society. It's extremely infuriating.
it is. I think there's a lot of work that needs doing, and I think they've taken too long to do it. Men have been left behind. For whatever that reason was. I don't know if it's because women are more important because they're mums and they have babies, and men have children. They have their fathers. They have everything we are: mother, daughter, sister, aunt, whatever. The man is the same, brother, uncle. Everything. It shouldn't be
Absolutely.
so separate. It really, really shouldn't. But I think that comes from, it's a generational thing, and it's got to
Many
stop.
years. It's going to take a long time to fix, but it's just so amazing to be
Mm,
connecting with so many people that actually want to talk about it now. So, although it's
yeah.
going to take years to change, it's
Mm.
exciting to see that we are going to be part of the change.
And it's great to see that guys are willing to talk, are willing to put themselves out there, and with the stigma, it's that for me is like, go for it, do it, mate,
Mm,
because the more people are just talking, and it's really, for me, it's really that simple. It's just about talking. We're
yeah,
sitting here just having a chat, and just a chat, and that's all that's needed. Just have a chat with somebody, and it can make all the difference for somebody. Um,
absolutely. And even if you don't understand, I mean, listening goes such a long way.
it can, but you can then just say to someone, look, I don't understand, but you know, I can try.
I'm here, I
It,
can try, and I'm willing to listen, willing to learn.
yeah. I think for me, if someone said that to me, I would allow that, because it's showing me they're willing to take that time for me, which
Mm,
shows me I must be valuable in that moment. So there must be something good. So when you're feeling low and you feel so bad about yourself that you're in that spot of wanting to take your life, that one thing can make you just tip towards life.
exactly, just to think differently.
Mm, yeah, yeah. I think
So, what is this transformational journey looking like for you? You've come such a
so.
long way. You're a different person from who you were last year. What keeps you going? What is that little bit of light every single day?
You know what? It's difficult sometimes. It can get difficult. Um, but I've just got these boys with me all the time, and it's just,
Mm,
I will never forget, never. So in never forgetting, I can't stop. I've got to
yeah.
continue my life, and I've got to be able to live my life as best as I can because of them.
Mm,
Uh, so I do struggle. I do have my moments, by all means, but I've got more strength now. I've got more support. I know where to go, what to do. It's that, but I'm learning all the time. And I will plow myself into getting involved, just learning. I need to learn.
yeah.
Um, so the more I can learn, and especially about myself, becoming more and more aware, my limits, my boundaries, my tolerances, all that kind of stuff for me is very important carrying forward with what I want to do.
Yes.
Um, I'm changing, I've changed, and I will. I want it to be a lifestyle now. Whereas before it was just hard work, because I was so in such a dark place. So it
Yeah.
was really difficult. But now I just want it to be a lifestyle, and just be grateful for what I have every day, because I am alive and I'm
Yeah.
lucky. So,
Absolutely.
mm,
And it kind of becomes a little bit addictive, this self journey and self discovery. It's like, ooh, I didn't know that about myself. Obviously,
yeah.
we have to get through the darkness first. I totally get that. I've been there. And I suppose it's not good to just kind of replace one bad habit with another. So we have to just be mindful of that as well, that we're doing it for all
Mm.
the right reasons. But I think gratitude goes such a long way. And obviously just connecting with people that understand is so, so important. So what does your support structure look like, now that you are talking to people? Are you finding a huge shift now that you're able to actually talk about it rather than hide in the darkness?
I have a support structure because I speak now.
Yes.
So it's not like they were always there. They were always
You
there.
just didn't feel that way, right? Because you
I
weren't
just,
letting them
yeah,
in.
yeah, exactly. So
Hmm.
now that I can be honest and not be worried about what they're going to say to me, um, when I'm struggling, I will say I'm struggling, and it'll just be this understanding of what can I do to help. Well, I need A, B, and C. Okay, fine, great. Or if I'm not aware that I'm struggling to the point that I'm struggling, it'll be that someone will come to me and say, "You've been a bit quiet today. What's going on?" So it's just those little differences that I can't say I didn't have, because those same people are still, I've always been there. I just didn't allow it. I'm allowing it now. I'm allowing myself. I think for me, the biggest thing is I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable. And I've always had issues with that. But I think in allowing myself to be a little bit vulnerable with people I can trust, but it's not even just with people I trust. I will just speak now. I just think it's so important. So I do just speak. But not just about when I'm struggling. I will speak in work. I will let people know I have struggled before. I'm not going to shy away from it. I refuse to. It's part of my life. It's part of my journey. And I'm not going to leave any bit of it behind, no matter how painful.
Yeah. And I think that's the pure magic there, is being able to vocalize everything. This is something that I had to learn, but it really has changed my life, my mindset, everything about me. I would rather talk about way too much and share way too much than ever be in that dark place again. And my husband, he's so amazing because he's a soundboard, but he gets it, and it's also teaching him and my son to do the same thing, because they really struggle with that. My husband just shuts down and he can't communicate at all. But I mean, most men do that, So it's just about showing them that it's okay to do this as well. So they're also learning from that.
Yeah.
But this is something that I work on a lot when we talk about that emotion that is kind of stuck and festering inside. We have to release it so that it doesn't, build up to that point where we feel like that's the only way out.
Yeah.
So just communicating and vocalizing everything, your needs, your desires, your discomforts, like it's so, so important. Find someone to do that with.
Exactly. Even just one person, who's got that understanding with it, that's all you need. And I get that some people don't have that. I get people don't have families. I get people don't have good relationships with families. There is always somebody. Just don't stop reaching out, because you will find that person. And that for me is huge as well, because I was one of those who never I just wouldn't ask for help. I wouldn't reach out. That time I did, if I hadn't, I would have gone ahead and done what I was going to do. Because I was referred to the mental health team, they judged me completely on what I was going to do. That's what led me to where I was. Just keep going, because if I hadn't, I wouldn't be here. And for me, it's a simple thing as that, and it makes me feel quite odd sometimes when I realize how close it was.
I'm sure it's like a whole new lease on life,
Yeah.
And I'm just curious to go back to this website that you spoke about. Did you just find it on Google? Was it that easy, or did you have to go onto the dark web?
Oh, no, I just found it on Google. Yeah, it's just on the clear net. It's on the dark net. It's on Google. Well, it's been a bit buried in Google, but it can be found. It's not difficult to find.
Do you think there's a way that myself or anyone else that's watching, is there a way that we can, assist these moms in getting this stuff shut down?
I can always ask them, to be honest, if there's anything.
How can we help?
Yeah, they have done so much. They're making such a difference. This website is struggling a little bit because some of the methods you cannot get in the UK anymore from the work they've done. It's very difficult to get some of the stuff. Other stuff they've done where some of the websites actually hidden now, whereas before anybody could see it. A 10-year-old could go on there and read it.
And when you say by the methods, do they set everything up for you and you just kind of buy a bundle and that's it?
What do you mean? As in?
Because you mentioned that they actually kind of sell the methods or show you where to buy these things.
Oh, yeah. They will show you where to get a source, what they call a source, and then you contact the source in order to buy whatever it is you're looking for, whatever your chosen method is. Yeah, I'm convinced they are part of that. 100% convinced.
It wouldn't
Um,
surprise me, just with the way you've explained, everything is structured and there's no real way out. It's like they push you towards that and towards that next website. So please,
yeah.
Cara, really, if you can find out if there's any way that any of us can, I don't know, flag the website. If the moms, need our help in any way, please let us know as well.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely let you know. I did mention to them that I have met with you, and I'd be chatting, because when I do speak about my story, I can't not speak about their boys, and I'd never speak about their boys without their permission either.
Yes.
So they are aware. So I will definitely take this back to them and ask them.
Yeah, and then just let us know. So, um, we have a message here. Greetings, obviously, to the both of us. I get it. Revealing too much to anyone listening, suffering from excessive context syndrome is how my subconscious decided to deal with those who lack context. Interesting. So, did you ever feel like you weren't actually being listened to when you did try and reach out to these people before, or did you just not talk about it at all?
Oh no, I never spoke about anything. People
Oh,
wouldn't have known. No, no, I could have 4 or 5 faces if I needed to. You would not have known I was struggling. Because you do get to a point like that, you don't really want people to know. Um, that's another thing about the website. They coach people not to talk to their families. They will coach people not to seek professional help or not to tell their therapists anything. But no, I wouldn't speak. I just wouldn't. I was a very, very closed person. Um, Now I just speak. Whatever comes to mind, I'll just say it.
so do you think that that's the I just want to choose my words so carefully because it's so hard to talk about this, but do you think that that's
Mm,
the underlying problem is that we don't see it coming? These people that feel this way like you did, or on the verge of suicide, um, they just keep it all inside. They're dealing with it inside. No one even knows. Because I mean, that's the problem, is sometimes you don't even see it coming. And even when I was feeling like that, before booking myself into the center, I didn't talk about it. I would just literally lock myself in the bathroom and kind of just deal with those thoughts in my mind. Like, this is it. You could just take all those pills right now, Terri. No one would even know. I didn't talk about it in any way.
mm.
I don't think I've gotten as close as obviously you were. And um, yeah, I just think for anybody that is there, do you think that that's the problem, is that they can't speak about it? They just deal with it on their own. Um,
I think there's a mixture, because I think there are people who won't talk about it. I think there's a lot of fear about talking about it, purely because of stigma. There might be things because of hospitalization. Um, but there are people who just talk about it, not as in, like, you wouldn't maybe think that they've been serious, but it's every little thing that someone says, and it points to killing themselves, taking my life, etc. It needs to be taken seriously, and just need to ask, what did you mean by that? Or, you know, just anything, because sometimes people will just say it, well, I might as well be dead, or, and we just think, oh, yeah, right, okay, don't be silly.
Yeah, we just take it
And
as
we're
a
not,
joke and we brush it off,
yeah,
like, oh, whatever, and we go about our day. Like, it's not
yeah,
something to take seriously.
exactly. So I think there is a mixture where some people will just be saying things because they're thinking about it all the time, and people aren't picking up on it, or on we don't take it seriously. And I think that's again about listening. Um, I don't know, knowing somebody. I don't know. It's a very difficult thing to say, because I wouldn't
Mhm.
talk, so I couldn't blame my family not knowing.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there anything that you would say to people that are, on the other side, the family members that are aware that, someone they love just wants to die or end their life? Is there any message that you would share with them? Because obviously dealing with someone like that, there's some things that you could say that would just push them over the edge. So
Mm,
obviously we've spoken about just having that kindness and compassion, but what else
yeah,
would you say to those families?
that those two things, especially kindness, compassion, because sometimes we can't understand. We can't understand. Let's say a 16-year-old. I wouldn't be able to understand a 16-year-old, because when I was 16, I was very different. Things were very different in the world. But don't make them feel guilty. Don't tell them they're being silly. Don't, all those kind of things. Try as hard as you can not to do. And as a parent, it's very difficult because you're scared. You're terrified. But as much as you can, just try and make it so okay for them to speak. That if they're saying to you, oh, I just want to die or whatever, okay, well, why? Just don't panic. Try not to panic, no matter how bad it is. If I went to my mom and said to her, I want to die, she would panic. She wouldn't know how to speak to me. So I would prefer, if it was me going through this again, if I did that, for her to come to me and say, wow, okay, why? What's going on? Come sit down. Let's have a coffee or whatever it is. Just that extra little time of, oh, okay, what's going on? So you are taking somebody seriously and you're not minimizing what they're feeling. Doesn't matter what we think. We might think it's silly. It's no reason for it. It's not our place to decide that for anybody's experience.
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing that really ticks me off, is because I've also really struggled with my mental health in the past, and just when you do eventually open your mouth, the person you're speaking to kind of brushes it off like you're just being stupid, like you have so much to live for, you have a great life, and don't tell me I'm being stupid. You're not living in my body. You don't know what it feels like to be so depressed that you can't even get out of bed, or so anxious that you can't even breathe. So,
exactly.
and it boils down to the stigma around mental health, and I think working in mental health now has really opened my eyes, because when we think about mental health, I think I used to think about, the ladies that I work with, or like my own experience, but just seeing how far it can go, or the other, the other side of the spectrum. And I think that a lot of people don't believe what they can't see, so you look normal, you must be fine.
You must be fine. It's so true. It's so true. And also not to make assumptions. I think for me, that's a biggie, a very big thing, because assumptions are so dangerous. You can make an assumption like you were saying, Terri, about, oh, you've got a good life, you've got everything, what you got to be upset about. Look at my life. Don't try as hard as possible. Do not do that, because it's just judgment.
You just got to try and understand.
It's just, and it's just judgment upon judgment upon judgment. And for that person to have actually taken that step to actually say, I feel shit, I want to die.
Yeah.
Sit down and listen. That's all you need to do, and then make a plan on what to do. You can then, I don't know, if, for me with somebody, I would say, if you're feeling that, what are we going to do? Are you going to tell me? What do I need to do? So you've got a bit of a safety plan going on that you both agree to. But then don't stop checking in on them. Just because they're going quiet or they look like they're happy, don't stop asking. It doesn't go away. It takes a while to work through, and for suicidal feelings to become less dominant in your mind. They don't just disappear.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking, there's so many comments here from Believe in Yourself. I'm sorry, I can't see your actual name. And I'm struggling to just keep up with your comments here. I think that you're sharing your own experiences and maybe just giving some advice to people that are on this, building a bridge from your dreams to your destiny. So this is like all really positive, and I love what you're sharing here. So anybody that wants to just check out those comments, those are on YouTube as well. Obviously, the end goal is to have these positive thoughts and have that positive outcome. But how do we get there? How do we first nip it in the bud, face the reality, ask for help, and then obviously move on to that positive aspect, the one that you're on now, looking for gratitude. We have another one here. I have BPD, my bipolar with DID, and sometimes just being part of a community has a great impact on self-esteem. Absolutely wonderful. So what do you have to say about community, Cara? Have you found a community? I know that kind of contemplating the idea of creating your own, which I think is beautiful. But do you think it's easy to find these kind of communities?
I think any community you're looking for, you can find. Yes. What worries me about communities is sometimes they're great. There are some I'm part of that are great. It's just to be mindful, be very, very mindful of what you're getting from the community. If it starts changing your mindset to negativity, or any kind of extreme kind of view, then take a step back. If it does support you, like you read about someone's comment there, if it is supporting you, by all means, 100%. You need support, you get support. I think for me, where I thought I was finding support, it's not what I was getting.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I do think communities are important. I do think people need a place to speak, to be understood, to be heard, and to be just to feel safe,
Yeah.
And I think that's very, very important. So any community that's moderated well, yeah, by all means.
Absolutely. And that's the tricky one, I suppose, is that when you're feeling so low and you go out looking for this community and this sense of belonging, a place to share your vulnerability,
Yeah,
and then you end up in a group like that's just breaks my heart that we even have these kind of forums, still around. And I'm sure that that's not the only one. It's just the only one
no,
that
it's
you
not.
found,
Mm,
you know.
yeah,
Um, so making sure that you do find a place of authenticity where people really do care, and maybe that it's more of a support group
yeah.
than just a place to vent
To
your
vent.
frustrations.
I
Um,
do think, it is important to vent. By all means, vent. But after venting, for me, it's important. I will vent, but I need to then take that negativity and turn it into a positive, because if not, it will sit with me and sit with me and sit with me. And that's what starts dropping me. So I know that's for me a bad thing. So that's how I'll deal with it.
yeah,
So just being aware
absolutely.
of things like that.
Definitely. And I'm in a few groups on Facebook, and some of them are really great, but then you have some that are dedicated to like anxiety and depression. And I found it really hard to be in that group, just energetically, it's so draining because
Yeah.
it is just negativity, and
Mm,
no real help or source of a way forward. It really is just a place to vent. And I find that quite difficult sometimes. So Dodo says, step one, you are not at fault. Yes, I totally agree with that. You need to remember that you didn't choose this, and like she says, it's an illness and you need to navigate your way. And the biggest
mm,
thing is that we also need to have a look at history, where do all of these beliefs come from? And, these
yeah.
behaviors that we have, what trauma have we faced? And really start
Mm,
uncovering all of that stuff. And I think that that's so important when you actually become willing to heal and
mm.
willing to uncover those parts of you. I think you can really find a way forward.
Yeah, I think that's hugely important. I love things like that. Absolutely love it, because um, nothing happens without a reason. Very seldom does it. And when you get to points like that, there's been trauma. There's been
Yeah.
massive trauma. And if you can learn to face that in a safe manner and work through it, and it's not like that trauma is ever going to leave you. That's going to be part of you.
No,
It's about finding a safe place to put it in you where it's comfortable, that you can manage. And
absolutely.
that takes hard work, but it's I think it's so vital. It's so vital to get to the root cause of things. And I think for me that's the most important thing about suicide prevention. It's not so much about phone the crisis team, go to hospital, whatever. Yes, that needs to happen in certain. It's the follow up after those kind of things of what led you to this place.
Yeah,
What can we do
absolutely.
to help? Is it
It's almost
housing? Is
like
it
just
money? Is it family?
masking. It's just masking the symptoms, right? Not
That's
actually
correct.
curing the problem.
That's right. Or even
Yeah.
looking at the problem. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that that's why it's so misunderstood, you know,
Mm,
because for some people, maybe they've had traumatic experiences and it hasn't really affected them as badly, whereas others have just had a life of trauma after trauma after trauma. And, we spoke about this as well on our previous call, is understanding that some of the trauma isn't even yours. Like,
Yeah,
personally, I was raised by a mom that had all of her own trauma, and
exactly.
she was raised by a mom that was full of her own trauma. So this is just like passed down from generation to generation. And we spoke about suicide being so prevalent in your whole life because of that.
Mm.
So I think it's so important not to judge the other person just because your trauma isn't as bad, or you
Oh,
don't
for
understand the
sure.
situation.
Mm. And everybody is so different and so unique, and that's what we need to remember. You can't compare trauma. I might be able to manage something a bit easier than somebody else may be able to. Doesn't mean our traumas are different or one's worse or anything of the sort. But I'm very, very keen, very, very passionate about um, finding the trauma, dealing with the trauma where you can, because I think that, if we could learn to talk about that and deal with that, I think we would manage to be able to get to a point of speaking about suicide,
Definitely.
as a
Just
norm kind of
understanding,
thing.
definitely. And it needs to be normal,
Mm.
like we can give trigger warnings here because we know that it's uncomfortable, but damn it, we need to
Yeah,
speak about it. Just because it makes people
yeah,
uncomfortable doesn't mean we need to keep quiet. And
exactly.
I think it's so important for anybody that has gone through these things, that is just feeling so defeated, that you need to remember that your past does not define you.
No,
And these things that happen to you are not your fault. You didn't ask for them. And the only way that you can move forward is by looking at those parts of you that, maybe make you a little uncomfortable. Begin to do the healing, reach
yeah,
out to people that understand, find your community, find your tribe. There are so many people, as I've begun doing this work, that I've connected with, and it's so crazy how many of us actually share the same kind of story. And for so
yeah.
long we've just suffer alone because we think that
Mm,
that's what we have to do. But that's what society teaches us. Men are not allowed to show their emotions. They have to be strong for their family, and
yeah,
women have to be strong for their kids. You're not show emotion. This is what we're taught, and understanding that this is the way that we're raised and conditioned. Um,
exactly that.
yep. And a lot of it is
Mm.
actually not even ours. So
No,
just understanding that, and letting it go, releasing it. I know trauma's the
it,
worst to go through, and these things are horrible. But once you get to the other side, you really find purpose and meaning in that. And I
and
know
it's
that
worth it.
someone that is
Mm.
sitting in that darkness cannot even imagine that for a
No,
moment.
no.
But
But I've been there, and I'm on the journey. And it's not the first time I've been there. I made a serious attempt, um, which left me in a coma for a week. Um, I had to be brought back to life twice, and you know things like that. You kind of think back on and think, oh, okay. So it's not new. It's not new to me at all. One thing I just wanted to mention to you that I wanted to mention to you just now, that I also find important for families, when someone's made an attempt, it's very difficult on knowing what to do or how to treat the person. Sometimes that person, like I know with me, I was angry that I was still there. I was angry I was still alive, that I'd failed. It's not a failure, but that's how you feel. And that is something I haven't found a lot of out there in the world, really, is support for attempt survivors who have attempted suicide and survived. It's more for families of bereavement, or if you are currently suicidal. And that for me is a separate trauma. It's another trauma that I've put in my life.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Um,
a family member, I won't go into too much detail, but a family member of ours has tried a few times, and the last time, like, really nearly got it right. And she was just so angry. We had to deal with like 3-4 days of this anger that
mm,
somebody saved her.
yeah,
Why is she still here? And it was just like she was so confused, and it's really taken a lot for her to pull herself back together after that.
it
Bless
is
her, she's come
difficult.
a long way, but just seeing that for me was so shocking, and it's heartbreaking to see that. can't imagine being in that state where you think it's done and then you're awake,
Yeah.
and you're just still stuck in this movie that you don't want to be in, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a shame that there's not a lot of support out there for people in that situation. And I think it's vital to grasp that, because if people in that particular situation can get the right support, then I think is more preventative.
Yeah.
Because you know, a lot of the time once someone's made one attempt, the risk is higher.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but without that extra support of, okay, so you've made an attempt, so what we're going to do to fix it so you don't do it again, kind of thing. That is what I'm seeking to look to try and do, because I think there's not a lot out there for people who need that. And that's basically what I experienced.
Yeah,
I needed that support more than the support of, oh, help me, I don't want to kill myself, kind of thing. I needed it
yeah,
after I'd made the attempt. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to put that out there as well, that it is important to realize that someone who's made an attempt and survived, be very kind, be compassionate, be understanding, allow them to be angry, allow them their feelings,
Yeah,
and then move and deal with it with them.
definitely. Definitely. And I think it's so important for, just because being on the other side and being a family member that's dealt with that, is we just had to understand the environment and what had
Mm,
pushed her to that, that place. And we just kind of guided her and helped her to change that environment, rather
yeah,
than, why did you do that? How could you do that? That's so selfish.
exactly.
All these normal things because we're angry and we don't understand, but just to
Mm,
be compassionate and say, okay, well, let's find a way forward.
yeah,
You're not alone.
exactly. And a way
Um,
that's comfortable for that person at their
absolutely.
pace. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So,
Mm,
Dodo, I see that you're sharing some stuff here. I'm not going to read it out loud, but just so amazing that you're being so vulnerable and, sharing this. But you have your own story around, abuse, child abuse, and that you're just working through that. And I just want to commend you on that and
oh,
celebrate with
excellent.
you. Like, this is amazing. And she also just said, I'll put this one up here. Oops, there we go. So abuse shrinks your brain and the hippocampus, which stops you fighting back. And absolutely, I've also been in abusive relationships. And after you kind
Mm,
of get out of that, you just think like, what the hell, Terry? Why didn't you fight back? Like, how could you let
yeah,
someone, beat you in front of your daughter, kind of thing? But just realizing that in that moment, you're
you can't.
crippled. There's nothing you can do. So just so amazing that you're sharing that with us and just being vulnerable with us today. And I'd love to connect with you. So connect with us, please. I know that you're on
Mm,
YouTube, but you can find me on Facebook, on YouTube as well. I will comment after this today with both our details, but you can find me, Terri Ferreira, and of course, Cara Moran. Let us connect. Let us, start building this
mm,
community of women and men that are willing to talk about these things, support each other,
yeah.
and just create a new generation, a new way of thinking.
A new thought
And
process. I was just going to say, yeah, it'd be great.
absolutely, absolutely. And I've seen
Mm,
that just with my two kids, raising my daughter from a trauma lens, and that's
mm,
something now I have to work with her to overcome, being raised by a mom like me, so it's really
yeah,
hard. And then I can see the difference with my son, because by then I had done my healing. This became my passion and my purpose. And it's so important because for so long I was beating myself up, telling myself how useless I am, and just realizing that I did the best that I could, and everybody's doing the best that they can, and it's not your fault. You have to look at the history, the conditioning, the programming,
exactly.
parenting, everything, and just find people that understand you. I think that's so important.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and I see that she says that she's on Facebook and she's been around the UK to speak out about victims and whistleblowers. Amazing. So
Wow.
that's really, really awesome. We need to connect with more
Oh,
people like this. We all have a
yeah.
powerful message to
That'd be
share.
fantastic.
Yeah,
You see, things like that
absolutely.
excite me. That just, yeah, gives me so much. That's
And
exciting.
It
start,
is exciting, and thank you so
yeah.
much just for sharing your magic with us and for being willing and courageous enough to come on here and just share your story with anybody that needed to hear it. And I think that when we think about leadership, it's a bit scary, but it really is just about sharing your message. I mean, showing
Yeah,
other people that it's possible to overcome these things.
that's it. Exactly that.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much, Cara. And anybody that's watched us today, thank you so much for joining us. And give us a hashtag replay if you watch the replay, and reach out to us if there's anything you want to chat about.
Oh, for sure. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much.
My absolute pleasure. Okay, see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.